customer come down to our yard, said, I want to look at this car. I said, there's the keys for the car, go and have a little look at it. But whatever you do, don't drive it, yeah? He said, okay. I've looked up at the camera and I can see him driving out the yard. A couple of minutes gone past, I'm thinking, where is he? His friends come running in. He says, the Jaguar, my friend has crashed your car. Let's go and see. He is on the wrong side of the road. Head on, say to the guy, mate, what the hell are you doing? Like, how has this happened? How are you on the wrong side of the road?
This one, guys, is middle. He's coming middle.
Who's in the middle?
This one, my friend, is coming here. Look, he's here. But he's look. Understand now?
Is it the same level of effort in selling a £35 car as it is a 250 grand car?
Sometimes it's harder.
What are you turning over at the moment?
What numbers of cars? I would say we'd sell at least 100 cars a month, I would say.
What was the best month you've ever had? Hi and welcome to episode 11 of the GVE Podcast, and today we are joined by Calvin from Calvin's Car Diary.
Yep.
And I am accompanied by George and Anthony as well. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me down, guys.
Good. So let's get stuck into it. You've got an amazing business and social media channel. Tell us a little bit more about you.
So I suppose, where do we start? I suppose my journey started at school. Even as a kid, I always loved cars, and always loved doing a deal. I grew up in Luton, didn't have no money. Like, as a family, we didn't have much at all. And the easiest way to earn money is doing deals, whether it's buying and selling a BMX, a mountain bike, a mobile phone, a watch, whatever we could get our hands on to do a deal, we would do. I grew up with one of five brothers.
Oh, wow.
So mum and dad split up when we was younger, so it was mum, 5 kids. It was a bit of a wild house, and we all just loved doing deals. Always loved doing deals, and then that kind of progressed into buying and selling cars. So even before I'd passed my tests, I've got older brothers that could drive, and they liked doing deals as well. And we were buying and selling cars at school. We just started from there. So anything we could do to make a bit of money. The first car, I'm pretty sure the first car we ever bought was a 16-valve Astra GTE. And we paid, I think, £350 for that car, 175 quid each, me and my brother. And we sold it for £1,000. So that was a good deal. And even doing that
margin?
deal, that's a big margin. So 650 quid. It's a good deal, isn't it?
Right,
So
it's cool. That's perfect, right?
It's amazing.
That gets you
I'll
through
take
the
that
next
now.
month.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just it's not a massive outlay, I suppose it was at the time. And back then, like, that was an exceptional deal, to be fair, but especially for a 16-year-old. But it kind of enlightens you or opens your eyes to what's available. And you go to work. At the time, when I was 16, I went and worked at a Windows factory over the road from my house. And I think I was getting £98 a week working at that Windows factory. And I remember thinking, I can do a deal and earn this money quite easily in one deal. So, but I always had a full-time job. I think it's important for anyone watching this is you have your daytime job, you have your work, and then you have your investments. Whatever you're doing, go to work, that's important, that's your bread and butter, that pays the bills. And then you do your investments on the side. So for me, we'd all have our own full-time job, and we'd just do little investments, whether we buy a house or buy a car, do a little deal here and there. And eventually, very long story short, that evolved into buying and selling cars. We set up a hand car wash, started washing people's cars off the side of the road, and started buying cars off customers. So
Really?
Yeah.
So the people that are coming to get their cars washed,
Yeah.
you started buying their cars.
Started buying their cars. And honestly, the car wash was another way, because at that point, I think it was like 2009 when we was in a recession, we were skint. My brother was an estate agent. I was in the building trade. So I sort of ventured into the building trade. I was doing that as a day job. The recession killed both of our day jobs. We then went and set up a hand car wash, and it was rubbish. The hand car wash was rubbish. I mean, it was all right. It was great at the time.
Why was it rubbish?
Because weather in England, when it rains, you don't get no customers. You still got to go and set up. You still got to be there. You got to be, organised, reliable. You've got to be there, ready to clean cars. But some days you'd go into work and we'd wash one car and get a £5.
Oh my God.
And it's like, but one thing I would say, I remember at that point, I was speaking to someone about this yesterday. I remember at that point in time being desperate for a base, because we had both had our day jobs, which obviously turned to nothing because of the recession. And I remember thinking, I just want a site to wash cars from, so I've got somewhere to go every day to give me that routine, that consistency, that organisation. And when we eventually found a site to work from, it was actually a pub car park. So we rented the car park off the landlord. And we were there every day, 7 days a week as well. I had a Transit at the time. And it was good for, I suppose, mental health, keeping busy, keeping in a routine, and even things like going to the gym every day. We always made sure we go to the gym every day. We were being productive as well. I suppose washing the odd car here and there was good. We had a little bit of spare cash that we could buy the odd car with. So we'd buy cars of customers. The customer would pull in, get their car cleaned, and then you'd see them taking photos of the car and be like, what are you taking photos of your car for? Oh, because I'm selling it on Auto Trader. How much do you want for it? I'll buy it off you. I was going to advertise it for £1,000. Give me 800 quid. I'll be happy. Stick it up for £1,200. Then we'd start selling the odd car off the side of the car wash.
So that was your natural segue into that business.
Kind of the natural progression from being washing cars into the car trade. We then started washing cars for car dealerships locally. And again, it was an eye-opener to the daily runnings of a car dealership. So we was going up to auctions with them, sort of seeing what they were doing. And that just slowly evolved into us fading out the car wash and starting to buy and sell cars.
So just taking it back a bit, we always hear people's success stories, and it always seems to start with people flipping stuff and doing deals in high school or school, just in general. Whether it's from snacks or toys or whatever, they flip it to make margin. But what took you to cars? What attracted you with cars?
I do think whatever you do, it's got to start from. It has to start from something you enjoy, right? And that can be a hobby or something that you're just generally drawn to, whether it's, a general hobby is the gym. A lot of people love the gym. And if you create a business off the back of the gym, which a lot of people do, well, that's a great way to start a business. And for me, I'm obsessed with cars. Like, I've always been obsessed with cars. At school, some of the kids used to call me Carvin instead of Calvin because I was the guy that loved cars, yeah? So, for me, even seeing supercars nowadays, they're everywhere. And because we've got social media, you see them often, yeah? But when I was a kid, you never saw a supercar. Seeing a supercar was like seeing a famous person. But the impact that had on me as a child was massive. So I think if you're doing something, it's important that you do something that you've already got that love for. I love cars. I love doing a deal. And I suppose the obvious thing, or the obvious direction that this was going to go, was I was going to be a car dealer. So yeah, that's pretty much where it started for me.
So you're at this car wash, you started selling cars. Then what was the next step up?
So we were buying from auctions, BCA and stuff like that, which when you're starting out, specifically when you're starting out, you've got to be very careful with how you spend your money because we all know deals can go wrong quite quickly, quite easily.
Well, I find BCA, they're a good company and everything's good. Right?
Credit to BCA, they do a very good job.
And there's many people that have built their businesses off the back of what they've provided, right?
Yeah.
But what I found back around that time as well, around 2014, was, we're competing against everybody that has BCA finance as well. So they've got the stocking line.
Yeah.
And they have this, they've got a pot of money that they need to buy these cars with. Mm-hmm. And if they don't buy them, then, they don't have enough stock. So they don't mind going for the lower margins. And then one person's competing against them. I'm like, what the hell? The retail value on that is like 35 grand. And you guys have just bid 33 grand. So where's the margin?
But you find that people are buying their personal cars from BCA as well, right?
That's
so
crazy.
The dealers I used to work for 10 years ago, they said they used to have the same issue where more and more people knew about BCA. So you'd get an account easily and you start bidding on your own personal cars. And then you're bidding against people that don't mind paying retail for a car money. That should be.
And the craziest thing about that, sorry, I know we've gone off on a tangent a little bit, but the thing that we could never get our head around was somebody would pay retail money for a car through BCA, and if all they had to do was go and look on Auto Trader and see that they could get the same car for the same money with all the protection, a warranty, and the 6 months, legal rights that they have. But rather they'll go and feel like that they've got a deal out of BCA and then walk away with a problem car.
It is bonkers, isn't it? And you see that every day at BCA. You see that still. Yeah. You see cars getting retail money.
But you've addressed this a bit, haven't you? So where you buy or source your cars from?
Yeah. So basically, So going back to my issue with, or starting out in any business, forget about my issue. Starting out in any business, when you're starting out, money is a problem, yeah? And you've got to be very careful with how you spend your money. Even as you grow as a business, the priority is being careful with how you spend your money. Now, when we started, we were going up to BCA, and it's a great way to buy cars because there's a whole load of cars in front of you. You can just put your hand up and you've got stock. But it was always a gamble. And I wasn't in the car trade to gamble. It needed to be a bit more of a solid investment for me, especially, like I say, when you're starting out, you've got to be careful. So we'd buy cars and there'd be little issues with them. So you get them back and you just kind of don't know what you're buying. You don't get the opportunity to test drive them, which is a pretty big problem. You only get to judge that car on a real quick snapshot on seeing it in the auction. So you buy that car, you get it back, you realise it's got an issue. I'm not saying BCA sell cars with issues because they don't, but treading carefully, when you're treading carefully, you have to know 100% that what you're buying is likely to earn you money. So for us, we got stung a couple of times buying cars that, not just from BCA, just from auctions in general. And we soon realised this is not a business. We can't just take punts all the time. I'm not here to.
Have you got any examples of when you got stung?
This is a crazy example. So one example was I bought a van. So we thought vans are good news. You can buy and sell vans. I love vans. Always love vans. And I bought a Vauxhall Vivaro, and we sat there on the seats and we're like looking at it go through and thinking, this is all right. This is cheap. Looking around it, I can't find nothing wrong with it. Looking over this van, it's a mint van. History's good. It's not getting no bids. I'm thinking this is money in front of me. There's a profit here. So we've bought it. I can't remember the amount of money. Say it was $3,000, but it might have capped retail at $5,000. Yeah, got it for $3,000. Jumped in it, drove it home. It was perfect. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Got it home. I'm like, Leon, this is my brother. Leon, this van's all right. Opened up the side door. The roof was like that.
No.
Because we sat on the chairs looking around it thinking this is all right, but it completely caved in.
My God.
But
Would you have seen that online though? Had you seen the appraisal pictures?
the thing is, back then, so that would have been maybe as much as 15 years ago. The whole online thing wasn't as big as it is today. So right now, when you buy a car we're going to use BCA as an example again, it's very good what they do. They photograph everything. They deliver everything as much as they can in that advert. So you can pretty much buy, not blind, but you can buy unseen.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're probably better off. I would have been better off buying that van
Blind.
Online
online today than I would have been.
and using their official grade report.
Exactly that. But that's just one example. But yeah, so for us, we just thought the best way to buy cars is buying from people, meeting the owner. So we'd go to BCA sometimes, buy a car, and we spent a lot of time buying Vauxhall Corsas. And you buy the car, get it back, you'd look at the logbook, and you'd see that the person that previously owned that car was someone from Luton, which is obviously where we were from. You think this person's from Luton, they've sold their car to We Buy Any Car, it's then gone to BCA, we've then gone up to BCA in Bedford, bidded and bought that car and took it back to Luton to sell
Done
it.
a whole circle.
We would have just been better off, all these people taking margins out of that car, would have been better off just trying to buy that car from that person. Obviously, that's easier said than done, and that needs marketing. But what we'd done was we set up the car buying shop. And at that point, again, we still didn't have a lot of money, but we basically opened up a little shop on the high street of Dunstable, which is a little town near Luton. And we just advertised that we buy cars. And people would drop in. We didn't even have enough money to buy all these cars. We just said, we'll buy anything. And people were dropping in to sell their cars. And we were just winging it, trading things out. Anything we could do just to nick a little margin. We made relationships with other dealers. Do you want to buy any stock? Yeah, whatever you get, boys, just let us know. We'd literally almost broker deals. You'd ring up you guys, and not that you guys as an example, but do you want to buy this Range Rover Vogue? Yeah, Calv, I'll give you 20 grand for it. Give the customer whatever, 19.5 grand, and we've got a deal. We didn't have the money to buy these cars, so but it was a great way to buy cars. We could meet the owner, test drive it, see the history, see the condition of the car, make sure it's got no caved-in roof.
How did you find that actually having a shop benefited you? Because surely all of this stuff you could have done through the phone or a website.
You could have done. I think things have evolved a lot since then. So when we done it, it was quite a new idea. and it was really good. You always, going back to needing a base, it was quite good to have that base on the high street. It was a place to go to work every day. It had parking, people could pop in. It was a good meeting point as well for customers. We didn't actually have a car dealership at that point, so we started.
So it was just a shop.
It was just a shop. It was
Well,
literally.
you know, the funny thing is that you were ahead of your time then, really.
Yeah.
Because now you know who's doing all of that. It's Tesla, right?
Yeah.
So that's the big, well, that it was before. The big Tesla concept was we're going to stick each one of these Tesla little showrooms with one car in it, all around the UK and the shopping centres and stuff. Actually, it's not just UK, it's around the world, right? I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
It's efficient,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's efficient.
I think when people were walking in to buy, I think with Tesla as well, it was made such an efficient process for you to order and spec your new car.
Yeah.
You don't really need to walk around a showroom to go and see a whole load of new cars. You go through a website, you speak to a sales advisor, who advises what to go for options wise. When you look at it in terms of what you did with your model with the used market, hats off to you.
It was really good. And for us, again, going back to not having money, it was an affordable way for us to set up a car business and trade, earn money without taking on the overheads of a big car business. That shop now is closed. So you can see since COVID, since lockdown, things have changed a lot, haven't they? So that shop now, like you've had Motorway come along, We Buy Any Car have obviously branched out, as Evans, Hall, Shaw, there's lots of online car buying companies now, so it's all completely shifted online. So that concept worked really well then, but nowadays it is a bit different. We did then, from there we opened up another one of those branches, which is like a pod in a garden centre car park, which we've still got. It's really successful.
So what is that?
It's just basically a smaller version of that shop.
Yeah. Just in the garden centre.
In a garden centre car park.
Saying we buy your cars.
We'll buy your car. It's bright yellow, so it really stands out. It's in a good area, so it's like a good demographic.
What defines it being a good demographic?
Well, Luton is not a good demographic, for example, right? Dunstable for us was the nearest town to Luton that was better demographic than Luton. So our first shop was in Dunstable. That was quite an obvious thing to do. Then outside of Luton and Dunstable, you've got all these nice villages. They're really nice, good area. And it's in one of those villages. It's just little bit more, I don't even want to use the word affluent. They're just better areas, better people, better, not to say that Luton's bad. That sounds bad.
I've seen the Luton football ground.
Oh yeah,
Well,
you have
there
to
you
go
go.
through someone's back garden to get
Yeah,
into
yeah,
your way.
That is brilliant.
Don't tell me you support Luton.
No, I'm not a football fan at all. I've been to one Luton game. Quick story. I won tickets to see a Luton game at school. Me and my friend Marlon at school won these tickets. We was like 14 years old or whatever. It was Luton and Millwall.
Oh my
and
God.
the teachers gave us these tickets. Said, "Here you go, boys, go and watch Luton and Millwall." And it was mayhem.
I bet
Maybe
it was
guess your teachers didn't like you.
Teachers didn't like me. No.
safe day out. Yeah.
Were your teachers hooligans by any chance?
Yeah, they wanted me gone. I think it was a crazy football game. So that's my one experience with football.
Just I was thinking about the timeline of Calvin, in essence, is so you started off doing your deals through high school, through school, and then went into auctions. So if you just take it back a bit, how did you get access into auctions? Because I know a lot of people who watch our content and actually message us on social media, they're always asking, how do we get into buying and selling cars? So give an example. How did you get into auctions? How did you get access to all of that?
I suppose it would have definitely started. Do you know what? Our dad was so when we was younger, we kind of had. Don't really want to delve too much into it. Our dad done a few deals, so we grew up. Our mum and dad obviously split up, and later on in life, we spent a bit of time with our dad, and he used to do a few deals, and he's got buy his cars from the auction. Back then, you could buy cars for like next to nothing. Things were really cheap, but we'd see our dad buy a car at an auction, and then he'd bring it home and write a little A4 bit of paper, for sale, 1,500 quid or whatever. Stick it in the window. We'd go up the road. We'd clean the car with him, put it on the side of the road. And then he'd sell it. He would have bought that car a couple of days before from BCA or an auction, Mannheim, for 800 quid. And you'd see him make a margin on it. So that was quite an eye-opener. And my dad, to be fair, he absolutely loves doing a deal. He's a proper deal boy. He loves doing deals. Even now, he's always, whether it's an antique or watch or whatever. But also, when we was washing cars for car dealers, because we were going up to auctions with them, we could bid on their accounts. So they'd let us use their accounts to buy cars.
Wow.
And we used to do that as well, which was great for us because they'd have like, what is it, like a gold account or whatever. So they'd get
Big
better
stocking
rates.
facility.
Yeah, so that was
It's lesser commissions
Yeah.
to pay to BCA. Yeah.
lower fees. But one thing I would say, like, where it really started for us, going back to not wanting to take risks when buying cars from auction, we had a car dealership at that point in time, rewind before the car buying shop. We had a small car dealership with about 10 cars in stock, and all of those cars were sourced by us. So we would go out and buy privately. We'd go on Auto Trader, find private sellers, and go out, ring up the private seller, get a gauge of, is it a good car, get a gauge of the person, get a gauge of, are they open to an offer on that car? They would generally want quite an easy sale. So we would then be like, well, let's make the journey. So we'd finish work and we'd go and make the journey to go and buy that car. And again, you're test driving the car, you're meeting the owner, you're getting to suss the car out before you make that investment, because that investment needs to be bringing you a return. So we spent a lot of time doing that, which is why off the back of that, we set up the car buying shop. We want them people coming to us.
It's funny. There are parallels between
I can
your
imagine.
business and our business as well. But I remember when we first just set up the supercar side of the business. So prior to that, it was all export and whatnot, right? And then I took on the task of stocking the showroom up. Never bought a supercar in my life before. So everything prior to that point was just Mercs and Porsches and BMs, right? And so I go onto Auto Trader. There's a few private sellers selling their supercars, and there's a Ferrari 458. Perfect. And at this point, they're still relatively new cars, right? Ferrari 458s, because we're talking about 2013. So I've done all the relationship building, negotiated with the guy, gone down to Hammersmith, checked the car out, gone out with the guy for a test drive, and shaken his hand, and everything's good, right? And so we go down back to his apartment. I'm like, look, I'm ready to do the deal. I've got the money in the account. I'm ready to transfer. So let's do it. And he's like, okay, yeah, let me just go and get my V5. I'm just going to go and go upstairs and get my V5. So he goes up. So imagine, I've got to him, let's say about 10 o'clock. This whole process has taken us about 5 hours, right? And then finally he comes back down and he's like, I can't find my V5. It must be in my office. Do you know what? Don't worry, I'll get it sorted. I was like, yeah, okay, I can't transfer the money unless I get the V5, right? Anyway, a couple of hours go by. He doesn't call. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I just call him back and I'm like, what's up?
Yeah,
And he's like, the problem is I just got another offer on the car. No. And I was just so
that is annoying.
It's like you've just made up a story. Oh. Yeah, wasted my whole day.
That is annoying.
I was just so pissed off, but I was just like, no, I still want that car because I've dedicated 5 hours of the day and I'm excited, I'm pumped up. I really want to sell this car, right? And then it was something so ridiculous. Maybe what I gave off was I'm desperate for this car, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly the price that he's offering has gone up from like 200 grand to 215, and I just had to tell him to
leave it.
Do one.
Yeah. Too right.
This is probably the benefit of dealing with auctions and in essence like what you were doing in a shop front, because you're now dealing with an actual entity as opposed to just dealing directly with a private seller. Because you get messed around with private people all the time. You get people who would agree to a price, you send a purchase order, and then you send a driver there to go and pick the car up and do everything, do the checks, and they're just not answering the door. The car's not there.
We've
had that, yeah.
Oh my God.
It is annoying, but then at the same time, I know a lot of people that run car dealerships purely from buying cars from auction, and it works for them. And they're actually the opposite to me, where they're like, I couldn't think of anything worse than buying cars from private sellers. I can't believe you guys run business like that. Yeah. But I think even that situation there with you with the 458, I think it's a good lesson. Like you need to. I've had that happen plenty of times. You like,
really?
You go to do a deal, and
what was the worst one you've had?
I can't even think of any examples, but it's something that happens a lot. You need to close on a deal when it's in front of you. Even you've just done a deal just there on the car before we started the podcast. You're like, right, hold on, guys, let me just quickly do this deal. Yeah, that car's ready to go. Let's get that done. That's priority. Whilst the deal's available to do, you need to close on it straight away.
Strike while the iron's hot.
Right? Strike while the iron's hot. Exactly that. Whereas not that you, in that situation, you didn't have the opportunity to, but when you've got the opportunity, when you see a deal that's worth buying, you need to close on it.
Yeah, your iron went cold there. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you unplugged it.
Thanks.
No, but I think
We'll have to talk about my iron in a bit.
But no, you're right in saying that you learn from your mistakes, and that's what's so amazing about this industry. That everything that you come across, you think about it in the next deal. So I remember there was an S63 that you bought, and this guy was saying the same thing. It was almost like, go there. It was on a Saturday, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not available today." And I remember this day clearly. And you're like, "Nope, I'm coming. On my way to come and pick it up." He's like, "I don't have the spare key. I don't have anything. That's fine. Don't worry. I'm going to come. I'm going to transfer the money over to your account. I'm taking the car now." And it's almost like that was resonating in your head, thinking, "I'm not going to lose this car. This has happened in the past." And you learn from your mistakes. You're thinking, happening right now. Don't care what happens.
It's mindset, and you're the king of this, right? But I think the key difference between those two scenarios with the S63 and 458 was with the 458, I'm like, "Hi, Mr. Jones. Yes, I'm coming," and like being really nice, really pleasant, and I'll do anything. Just give me that car, right? The other one was, "Listen, I'm getting that car. Whatever happens, tell me a million different excuses. Don't worry, I'm coming. I'm going to be outside your place.
You're going to make that happen."
I'm making that happen. And actually, we know a couple of dealers in the marketplace that
take it probably a bit
persistent,
far.
Some people take it really far.
But that comes with experience, right? It's just they know what they're doing. They're confident. And
they're not shy of pissing somebody else off, right? Yeah. And
just
then we've had our customers call us up. "Have you ever dealt with this guy? He's like, bloody hell, he's bloody persistent." I've never had anybody speak to me like that before.
I think I know who you're talking about there, and I've got an example of this. We've got a really good client of ours who buys and sells a lot, and at the time he was selling an AMG GT Edition 50, and he had this guy, well-known dealer, said, "I'm coming right now, coming to your dealership. I'm coming to your house. I want to buy that car." And he's like, "That's fine, but let's agree the price on the phone first." And he gave a price. Let's say it was 150 grand. The seller wanted 180 grand. And the seller's like, "No, we're 30 grand apart." The buyer, this well-known dealer, said, "Listen, you don't know the market. I know the market. I'm telling you what I'm going to buy it for. And if you don't accept it, you're an idiot. I'm coming right now. Have a think about it. But by the time I get there, I'm buying that car." And it's like that fine line. Like, okay, yes, you got the experience there, but that person you're buying a car from is a future buyer. If you piss him off that bad, how do you know this guy is ever going to come and deal with you again? And what happened? We ended up buying the car. We took it in and this guy said, "I'm never going to deal with that guy in my life. I can't believe how rude he was to me on the phone." He turned up to my house. He, I can say this. No. I can say it. No. He weed all over his toilet seat.
You can say it.
He weed all over his toilet seat.
really?
Oh no!
And then he left. But yeah, we ended up with a car.
I think that's funny. That's a good story.
I know what you're talking about as well.
I think taking ownership of every deal is important, or not just every deal. Everything you do, you've got to take full ownership of it. I think that's really important. But upsetting people, you don't want to be doing that. We all know right from wrong and rude from polite, and you don't want to piss people off. Yeah.
Well, that's the purchasing side, but I guess look, we know this all too well on the selling side. My gosh, what we go through on a daily, and I think it's the biggest thing that we have to crack down here is how do we create a nice, easy life in selling supercars where there are no comebacks. Every single car goes out and it's perfect, and it's a perfect experience and everything. Like this is things of dreams. This is what dreams are made out of. But I guess the question is, what are the parallels there?
It's the same. Yeah. I think it's impossible to expect a car that's a few years old, that's mechanical, that is made of lots of moving parts to not go wrong. Like that's what they do. They go wrong. And I think people's expectation, even to expect that would be possible, that we could sell every car every car that we sell to not go wrong within 6 months. It's impossible. I would love for that to be true, but I think people's expectations are possibly wrong.
Yeah.
What do you do to safeguard yourself in that instance? So a private seller's come and offered you a car. How do you inspect it? Do you have your own service centre or?
Yeah, no, we just inspect them ourselves. I'll take a view on a car and a person in the sort of the time that I meet them. So I'll have a look at the car. I do it on YouTube. Obviously, I do a lot of this on YouTube. I'll do a visual inspection, have a look under the bonnet, look at the history, do a car vertical check. Shout out to car vertical, and do all my background checks. But yeah, I do it all there and then. Then I'll take it for a test drive. I'm no mechanic, but I've got very good knowledge on cars, and I can judge a car quick enough to, in that moment, to know whether I want to buy it or not.
But don't you find it's virtually impossible? I mean, we've got technicians who would spend an hour to 2 hours to really inspect a car to see if we should take it or accept it in part exchange or do it. And even then,
even on consignment.
Yeah.
So now, so what we realized was, right, that we might take some cars on consignment and then sell them, and then later on they got problems, they come back, and actually the consignment fee that we've charged gets totally wiped out because of the money that we've spent fixing the car later on. So then
that's annoying.
That is annoying.
That
right?
is annoying.
So then we're like, okay, well, how do we stop that from happening? We make sure we do checks before we agree to even take it on consignment, right? So now we're at a stage where we're actually having to refuse cars to come in on consignment, because we'll turn around and say to the customer, the seller, hey, look, it's got, say, about £4,000 or £5,000 worth of work that needs doing before we can actually sell it, and so that we can feel comfortable that when we do sell it, it ain't going to come back to us and then land on our doorstep, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, don't want to spend that kind of money. You're trying to rip me off. And then it's like, shit.
it's much better that's happened up front, though, to avoid that scenario, because A, it's your reputation. You want to be providing the best cars, and then B, you just don't want the headache. I mean, you spend your time during a day to try and buy cars, sell cars, and close deals. You don't have the time to be dealing with headaches like that.
Well, part of my thinking is that if they can't be bothered to spend £5,000 on a £200,000 car to fix it, put it right so that we can sell it, then what other parts have they skimped out on?
Yeah,
in their 2
very
years
true.
of ownership, right?
Yeah, very true.
But
So how do you avoid that, though?
Well, I suppose if there's a case, I was going to say, would you ever advertise the car as it is? It depends what the car needs. You can advertise the car as it is, and when you've got a buyer on that car, you can explain to the buyer this car needs prep, and then explain to the seller, i.e. the person that you're selling that car for, we've got a deal. We can do a deal. We can return you X amount of money after we've done all of the prep. So, but it's nicer to prep the cars before sale. I think that's kind of more of a dilemma.
Yeah.
Because
do you do consignment stock?
we do the odd sale return, but not. I try not to. I much prefer to buy cars.
Yeah.
I'd rather just buy something. Then it gets that person out of the picture.
Yeah.
They will usually take maybe a lower offer on the car because they just want to get it gone, get it dealt with. They'd rather not wait for their money, and then we just take the car. We appraise it accordingly. If it needs any prep, we get the prep done, and then we put it up for sale. I think that's a better way to deal. But then with doing what you guys do, which is again one of the biggest hurdles in any investment business, is funding all of the stock. It's impossible. You can't fund all that stock out there.
Yeah,
because you'd be an idiot.
You
can
if you were a Saudi prince or something like that.
But if you was a Saudi prince, you wouldn't do it. It's not. There's better things to put your money in, isn't there?
Yeah.
To have millions of pounds.
Yes and no. I will. It's a funny one, right? Because I would agree with you, say about a year ago, that there's better things to put your money in, right? Because everything was overinflated. You go to a seller and you're trying to, buy the car at a 10% margin, and they're like, no, bugger off. I've got so many people wanting to buy my car. Then you're kind of like working down, and then it goes down to like 5% margin. Why the hell are we going to invest money when there's only 5% margin? But I think in a market like today,
now is a buyer's market. I mean, you've got people. We just came across a scenario where someone had to finance a whole load of their properties. They had a hypercar up for sale and took an offer of 400 grand less than what they're advertising it for.
No way.
So I won't say what the car was, but
it did just come up on the board.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. This is a month ago now.
Oh, I know which one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So you're now coming across these scenarios where people are desperate to get out of it. They can't refinance at the moment because the interest rates are ridiculous. And you're right in saying now, if someone wants to invest their money into something that if they're a car person and they love cars, they can enjoy it. They can say they've had it in their garage. And B, if you buy something in today's market for very cheap and you hold on to it, ride the wave and wait for the market to bounce back up, you could be making crazy money. Yeah. I mean, an example of this was I had a customer who was selling an F40. And I remember we were out for dinner at that time with a customer and he was offering it. You're not going to believe this. He was offering to buy his F40 immaculate condition, full history, for 940 grand. And if you have a look at the market right now, that very car will be going for 2.1 million.
No.
Double, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I remember when they were that cheap as well. Fuck's sake, George.
So if someone has money to invest into cars, maybe not in general all cars, but when the right car comes along, you really can't get better investments than that, especially if you're a car person.
I think at this end of the market, the reason why is simple, right? If you're buying right,
Always.
If you're buying right, then yes, it might go a little bit like that, but inevitably, you buy special edition Ferrari, special edition Lamborghini, that the chances are 9 times out of 10, even if there's a little bit of a dip, they're going to go back up again.
Yeah.
Right. But I guess I see with your end of the market, right, that I guess it doesn't work that way because so many cars are being made every year, right?
Yeah, it's kind of run-of-the-mill sort of bread and butter stuff. So the market that I deal with is a depreciating market.
Yeah.
But again, it still goes back to exactly what you just said. It's all about what you're paying for it. You got to buy right every single time.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the times it doesn't go completely to plan, but the priority is just buying right. And that goes back to my concept with buying from private people, ensuring that what I buy, I know all about that car. I've test driven it. I've met the owner. I've checked it all out, and I've bought it for the right money. Well, you can't really do any more than that.
Yeah.
If you were to summarize very quickly, what are your checks before buying a car? What would you do?
Obviously, history is important because that's going to affect the value of the car. Service history, owners and stuff like that.
Do you know with service history, do you knock it a lot if it's not had full main dealer?
It depends.
If it's had specialist, is it okay at the end?
I think even like for you to ask that, I suppose in your industry with what you guys do, it would affect the car quite drastically.
Depends on the car.
Depends on the car.
It does depend on the car.
Yeah, it depends on the age, mileage, but also
it depends on the story of the car, right? Because some cars sit in storage for 5 or 10 years, and if as long as you've got that story to tell the customer, this is what happened in that 5-year period, then sometimes you can get away with that lack of service history.
What specialist done the service as well?
Yeah, or what service was done after that period of 5 years? What was done to bring the car back to a saleable?
You're spot on. Every car's different, isn't it? Every car's different. If you're buying a Ford Fiesta today for £5,000 and it's been serviced by the man up the road, but he's giving you loads of invoices, it's not a Ford main dealer history, but it don't matter. It's got a record there of that car being maintained, and that's fine. Whereas with you guys, if the man up the road's maintained that Enzo downstairs
Alongside the Ford Fiesta.
it ain't a good look, is it? It's going to affect the value of the car.
Yeah.
So, but not with, I mean, obviously main dealer history by preference, but I suppose mechanically right, it's been maintained, and it's like clear on the car vertical check. That's all the important stuff.
But car vertical checks don't go, or any car check for that instance won't go into depth of mechanical side of things. So what I'm trying to get over here is we've seen how people can get stung with cars. I mean, as an example, we had someone who tried to sell an Aventador to us, and had we not done the check on that car, we would have been 25 grand lighter. That car was mixing oil with water and it's going milky, and you would never have found out unless you'd done a full inspection on that car, drained the oil, realised what was happening, because it was making a tapping noise. And it was a very, very slight tapping noise that only would have really been seen by someone who had the car in the air, not making sure it was run in isolation from anything else. Now, what checks can you do yourself to make sure that you're not buying a car that's going to make you negative as opposed to make you profit?
Okay, so I think that comes back to what we're saying about experience and learning. So you now know when you're buying an Aventador that if you hear that ticking noise, that's a 20 plus grand job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe taking a punt on that car and learning the hard way might have been a better way to learn. Well, it's not. You've learned anyway. So you learn your cars, you learn your market as you go. And when I look at a car, every single car on the road, I can look at that car and think, because I've bought and sold thousands of different types of cars, I can tell you the common faults of every single car. Well, no, I don't want to say that's a bit of a bold statement, but pretty much every car I'll look at it and be like, the cam belts snap on them, head gaskets go on them, gearboxes are weak on them, clutches are rubbish on them, the heads give up on them, just loads of different things with every single car. So when we're looking at a car with a common issue, like you looking at an Aventador, you're listening out for that ticking sound. So I'll get in a car, engine and gearbox is priority. I'll make sure the engine sounds all right. Are any of the common issues that these cars have springing to mind? Is it showing any of them symptoms? If not, I'll take the car for a drive, make sure it's pulling right, clutch and gearbox is all right. And that's all you can do. You've just got to judge that car on the spot, ain't you?
But I guess it's also risk and reward as well. I.e., if something like the cam belts go on a car or whatever, right? At that level of the market, it's not going to be a lot of money to repair it and just get it back on the road again. Whereas on
it's still a
our
percentage thing, right?
it's still a percentage thing.
So on a £250,000 car, we were going to be 25 grand short, which is like, you're talking about a quarter of the value of the car. Whereas a gearbox on a £5,000 car would probably cost the same amount of money.
It would take the percentage of the
so it's still a big hit at the end of the day.
It is, yeah.
It is a big hit for sure. What I like about your end of the market, right? And I mean, I've seen it because we know a lot of people in that market. We get people like that own big supercar markets. Big car markets, buying a lot of cars from us, and you see the volume go through. That's the cool part. The amount of volume, the amount of consistency that you guys can have selling run-of-the-mill cars that, albeit low margins, but the amount of turnover of stock that you guys
what are you turning over at the moment?
What numbers of cars? I would say we'd sell at least 100 cars a month, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of cars. There's a lot to deal with.
Without asking too many sort of personal questions, what's your average margin in a car?
That would give away everything, wouldn't it?
Average.
Average. Well, that would give away exactly what I'm earning, wouldn't it?
What's the best month you've ever had?
What's the best month I've ever had selling cars?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I actually don't
Gross
know.
Margin.
I don't know the answer to that question. I can tell you that my overheads are massive. I need to do at least £100,000 a month to cover my outgoings. And
I feel you.
It's a lot of headache. But we do that every single month. So
Okay.
Oh,
That's
well done.
it.
Yeah.
Congratulations, mate.
That's-
yeah, it's a lot of work. We're fully on it, every single one of us. And I always say on social media, everyone sees Calvin, but I'm one of 5 brothers.
So all you brothers are
We
doing-
don't all work. We all work together on different projects, but in the car business, there's 4 brothers. Our dad now works with us as well, and I've got my niece as well. She's there. It's a proper family business.
Oh, that's really good.
So yeah, there's a lot of us, a lot of overheads, but it's a lot of fun as well.
So, like I was mentioning, we know other car supermarket people. We think that our market is quite competitive. We've got quite a few big players out there that we're always having to compete against, right? But you guys have so many people that you have to compete against at that level of the market, right? Am I right?
You are right.
Yeah. But no, I'm just saying it in the sense that in order to do well, you're obviously doing something right because there's so many people that you're having to go up against.
I suppose social media is definitely a big part of that.
Really?
Yeah, massively. I've been doing social media for, I suppose, 10 years, but I'll say solid maybe 5+ years.
Yeah.
And
Definitely one of the OGs
I
when
am,
it comes to the car industry anyway, for social media.
I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
And my channel hasn't blown up. I haven't had no magic with my channel. It's just been a good, consistent channel. It's gone really well. And I'm consistent with it. I'm always I upload a video every Wednesday and Sunday at 6 o'clock. I've done that for many years.
This is YouTube.
This is YouTube.
Yeah.
So YouTube has always been the base because it pays money, so that covers costs, because obviously with social media there's a lot of cost involved.
So YouTube, I want to delve into this because we just hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Well done. Wow.
Day, yeah. So that was a big achievement for the media team. But, with YouTube, it's been a bit of a hard process for us, hasn't it? Like we've put a lot of time, effort. We've had a lot of really high production stuff that we used to do, and suddenly we make it live and it'll get like 2,000 views, and we're thinking, do you know what? And we continue doing it for a couple of months, and then suddenly we're just like, forget it. And what I like about what you've just said is 5 years consistently, and I'm guessing that you had a similar experience at the start as well.
Even going throughout, like YouTube and social media is like that. You guys know, like you do a lot on TikTok and Instagram as well. It's very up and down. It's very up and down. But across the board, it grows. You know, you attract more people. The business as well, off the back of it, does more. We do more deals. So there is multiple avenues of income that comes from doing all of these videos.
But YouTube, when you started it, was it something that blew up quite quickly, or
No. Luckily for me, with YouTube, it actually started out as, back to what I was saying earlier about hobbies. I'm quite a creative person. I used to like drawing as a kid, just like creating stuff. And I started filming videos on my phone. My channel used to be called Calvin Fair, me and my iPhone. It wasn't called Calvin's Car Diary. So I used to film on my phone and then edit on iMovie on my phone and then upload it on Facebook, and people started liking it. And then I started uploading them videos to YouTube and people were liking it, and I enjoyed the creative side of it. So then I bought a camera, started editing I bought a Mac actually, and started editing on iMovie on the Mac. And again, I was just enjoying the creative side of it. So I just done it because of that. And then I started seeing benefits where this channel was growing. And with anything, whether you're doing a deal or, whatever you do, you chase numbers, yeah? So you're looking at this number growing. And I remember hitting like 100 subscribers, 500 subscribers. I got myself to a point where I was getting 1 subscriber every day. And I thought, that's consistent, that's growth. And
it's always been car related.
Always car related stuff. Always just I'd buy a car. Even I wasn't the way that my life progressed. I was quite amazed that I was buying these cars. Like as a kid that grew up loving cars, I'd buy like a Focus ST, for example, or a Honda Civic Type R. I'd be like, this is wicked. I've got a Civic Type R. Let me film this. Let me put this on social media. So there was passion on that side of it, and there's also a love for the creative side of it. So I then the channel started getting a bit of traction. I could see that people were enjoying it. I was attracting people outside of my social circle, if you like. And it just slowly grew, and I enjoyed it. And then I started realizing, well, hold on, this is actually potentially going to generate revenue. I started seeing new customers at work, and then the revenue started coming in. I thought, this is actually worth my while putting a bit of extra time into this.
So how many subscribers do you have roughly at the moment?
230,000.
So going back to what you were saying, you're very, very humble, because you were saying that your YouTube channel never blew up and that you don't know how you're buying these cars, these Type Rs and stuff like that. But if you go back to the beginning of the conversation and what I've learned just from listening to what you've said, every time you face an issue, you've resolved it. So you had issues at buying cars from the auction, so you've started a car buying shop. And so you're very humble, but you've obviously you're different to the regular businessman. You're more of an entrepreneur where you solve your own problems, and that's how you've developed. And so fair play to you, and credit where credit's due.
Thank you very much, man.
You've obviously, so going back to it, I know you're saying you don't know how you bought all these cars, but you're humble and you're doing well. So but you're doing that by solving the problems that you're facing on a day-to-day basis. Yeah,
and there's always thank you, man. I appreciate that. But I think one thing I would say is, like, a lot of people say a lot of good things come off the back of a problem, don't they? And a lot of these problems, like you say, that we've solved, I do enjoy being a problem solver. I love being faced with a challenge. And sometimes, challenges, they make you feel rubbish, they make you feel down. Sometimes you'll have a hurdle, an issue to deal with. We know that with selling cars, boys, don't we? Like retailing cars, you get issues. But sometimes it's like, do you know what? I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to come out the other side a better person.
When you solve that problem, there's no better feeling. There's no better feeling coming on the other side, knowing that you just...
it's just
resolved that what could have been very, very costly.
And I think the difference between someone progressing from that problem and not is the difference between whether you're going to succeed in life or not. And it's quite empowering to know that throw a problem at me and I'll deal with it. And I think that's a big quality.
So is there anything else you're working on at the moment based on problems that you've faced in the past? Is there any other projects in the pipeline or anything else that you're working on?
Yeah, so there's lots of stuff we're working on. We built a platform for the car trade called Enterage.com.
Okay.
We bought this domain years ago, which is a great domain, Enterage.com. And
Enter the reg.
Enterage.
Enterage.
Enterage.com. So when you go on any car website anywhere, if you go to, say, We Buy Any Car or Motorway, it just says Enterage on their website inside a number plate. So we own that word, that name. And we actually built, so again, this started off as a problem. So my little brother, he's a bit of a genius with websites and computers, that side of things. I still do a lot of our accounts at work. So I used to do it all with pen and paper, writing invoices, purchase invoice, sales invoice, work out all the VAT at the end of the month, give it all to the accountant, and then he'd submit everything. But it was a mission. It's just an absolute mission. Doing it on pen and paper, it's just a headache. And I used to spend so much time. And as our business grew, like when we was doing 5 to 10 cars a month, it wasn't too much of a big job. But as we grew, we was doing like 20, 30, 40 cars a month. I was like, I can't do this. This is too much work. So I mentioned it to my little brother, Curtis. And I said, Curtis, we've got to come up with a solution here. This is just ridiculous. And surely like so many car traders must have this problem. We went online and there wasn't anyone doing a good stock management system for the car trade. There wasn't any, like there was a few people doing it, but none of them were that great.
There's like a Click dealer or something
Yeah.
like that. Do you remember them?
Yeah. That's an example.
I tried to use it. I mean, it didn't really work out for us.
Okay, well, who do you guys use?
Stock management, we've got our own kind of system, bespoke, that we've set up ourselves. But yeah.
Okay, so we had done that. So we'd set up our own system that was bespoke to us. And as that system grew, it made my life so much easier. And in fact, the time that it gave me I spent that time then on social media. So I became a lot freer with time. So I took social media more seriously. So we built this platform. And when it was done, I thought, we all thought, there's more to this. So we then added a valuation system on there. We've now got a relationship with AutoTrader where we're going to integrate AutoTrader and use their valuations and upload stock to their website. What else? There's a trades platform on there, so you can do deals with other traders. So we're interlinking one dealership with another dealership. We then, going back to the car buying shop, obviously we had this website now that was attracting people from social media all over the country to sell their car. We thought, let's integrate the car buying shop with it. So car traders can now go on there and buy stock from private sellers through Enterage, powered by the car buying shop. So you've now got this all-in-one platform. You can value a car, you can do an experience check on that car, you can upload your stock to AutoTrader, you can make your own website on there. Everything all in one platform that I still don't think exists now. I'm sure there's things that do it, but ours is bloody good.
So, and then you're going to put that out to other car dealers that
so at the minute it's organically growing. A lot of people are interested in it.
Yeah.
And we've got
people signed up.
Yeah, we've got a lot of traders on board.
Oh, that's cool.
And we're all working together. And it's good. The car trade, even us doing this chat today, part of the reason for me coming down here, and obviously I'm getting you reaching out, is it's a tough business, man. It's a tough business, isn't it?
So actually, that's a good question. How are you finding it at the moment?
We was talking downstairs earlier, and I would say my business is very consistent, probably more consistent than what you guys are. August is a rubbish month. Generally, I say rubbish. It wasn't terrible, but it's definitely less. There's less activity in August. Everyone's on holiday and stuff.
Yeah.
September was a manic month for us, and generally every other month, is good. So I would say our business is definitely will probably differ from that point of view, because big value items, there's trends in the year when people, I suppose summertime's a big part of it as well, isn't it?
I think, I mean, you can shed more light on this, but my view, you know what my view is like, for every car, there's a buyer out there.
100%.
It's just if the price is right. So, and that means at any given time, in any market, it could be boom time or it could be recession time, right? if there's a car, there's a buyer, and it's just all about the price.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a wrong car.
I don't think there's such thing as a period in time where you can just say, no, do you know what, we're resigned to having a shit time because everybody else is having a shit time, we're going to have a shit time as well. It's just, I think it's just more about how can we adjust the pricing of the cars that we've got.
That's why it's so important with the business setup at the moment to be mainly focusing more on consignment, is that we don't get trapped in this market that we're in now. So while, let's say, the market is going through a recession and prices are falling, if every single one of those cars downstairs on the showroom floor was owned, we'd suddenly be like, hold on, whatever margin we had in the car is suddenly all gone. We're now the wrong way around.
Give an example of like, what's the worst one?
Okay, well,
we were talking about this yesterday. 911, 992 Turbo S's.
Oh, Turbo S's.
Oh, really? Go on, tell me.
So
now Porsche have got loads of stock of Turbo S's, and apparently yesterday we were told that they're given 40
grand
discount
discount
off a brand new one.
We've still got a Turbo S.
Oh my god!
So we sold a Turbo S 992 Turbo S with an aero kit, lovely spec. Sold it to a customer for, at the time, 40 grand over list. If you work it out backwards, 40 grand over list.
And we didn't make the 40, by the way. We would have to pay a premium.
Yeah.
Now, that customer committed to the car back in May and left a sizable deposit, over 50%. So we were safe. But that car's been sat there waiting for his full payment. We had a good relationship with him, which is why it got to that stage that he hadn't paid. So it was coming to the point now where we were saying, listen, make the payment, otherwise we're just going to market the car and you've lost your money. Mm-hmm. He was like, he made the payment, but had we advertised that car right now, instead of him paying 40 grand over list, we would have had to sell that car 40 grand under list. So that's an 80 grand difference in the space of 3 months. The cars had done no mileage. It's the same spec. It's still a 23 car. It's brand new, but it's lost 80 grand in the space of 4 or 5 months.
This is the joys of working with supercars.
And this is the thing. There's another motive for me coming down here, because although we're doing we're in the same game, it's almost like completely different businesses, isn't it?
It is. But actually saying that though, because we've delved into selling cars around the 40 grand mark, 35 grand mark, we do that now and then, right? Mm-hmm. But you guys know better than I do. Is it the same level of effort in selling a 35 grand car as it is a 250 grand car?
Sometimes it's harder.
Really?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
though.
sometimes it's harder. We get customers that come in and they spend 35, 40, 50 grand with us, and we've got a couple of cars advertised at that price. And for them, and you got to remember, if someone's regular person comes in, they're spending 50 grand on a car, they've worked their asses off, and then normally they're stretching to get to that car, right? So and they want to make sure everything's right, and they want to come down, they want to check over the car, they want to walk around it, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But you'd think it's the other way around, but no, it's actually hard to sell.
Like sometimes with a Ferrari, let's say 250 grand, that might be one of 10 cars that the guy owns.
Yeah,
so
and it's a phone call. They'll leave a deposit over the phone. They'll come and pick up the car, and it's just...
So that's the trend I find, is someone who's a serial car buyer and they've bought a lot of cars in their time, and generally means that they're a very wealthy person. They know what they want, they know when they want it, and they know how much they want to pay. And those people are the most straightforward people to deal with. They'll send the money to you and expect the car to be delivered there and then. Whereas someone who's buying their first car or their second car, those are the people who ask more questions. Yeah. And they are a bit more skeptical about it, especially the person who's buying their very first supercar. So if they've suddenly gone from buying a 40 or 50 grand car to buying a 150 to a 200 grand car, for them, it's like buying a house. It's as thorough as they would do, and making such a massive... Yeah. They want to know the service history. They want to know who serviced it. They want to know what technician from that service centre's worked on the car. And it's like...
Yeah, but it's easy for us to say, right? Because we deal with it day in, day out. We do 3 or 4 deals a day. Yeah. And it's like we're telling them, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Everything's under control. But, you know, if you do look at it from their point of view, it is understandable.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I suppose if we were on the other side and buying our first ever car, then the problem is, right, we're in an industry where we're all tarnished with the same brush, which is used car dealer,
Wheeler dealer.
right? I had this article written in the Sun about me, and it was like wheeler dealer.
I remember that you were infuriated by that.
Thing, right? Wheeler dealer.
But you know, on that point, this is where social media comes into play, because we need to educate the people out there that these are the basic checks you'll do. You want to check the service history, like you said. You want to make sure you check the mechanical reports, make sure the car's coming with a warranty, make sure you check a pre-purchase inspection. As soon as you do the basic checks, then you're fine in buying the car. Whereas people out there just automatically think, I was speaking to someone today who's looking at buying an Aventador, and he was like, this is my first time buying a supercar, but how do I know when I buy this car, I'm not going to lose like 100 grand straight away? What's my security? And you have a one-to-one conversation with them on the phone saying, okay, well, look at the past, look at the trends of the Aventadors, look at the V12s, look at the predecessors, the Murcielagos. They've never lost that much money in one go. But if we can then do that on social media on a larger scale and let everyone learn together, which is what I think we've been doing over the past couple of years, it does help. And it kind of puts this worry or concern in buyers' minds to rest that, hold on a second, these guys know what they're doing. They've educated us online. Maybe we don't need to be so skeptical about it. So I think you're right in saying social media has a massive, massive play on this.
Also, it builds that trust, right? How many people probably watch your videos and feel like they know you? And they feel like we can trust you. Honestly, and, you know, they come and meet you and they feel like they've probably known you for like years, right?
They do. Yeah, I go, if I walk into the yard at BINCA now, walk out there, there'll always be someone there from social media.
No way.
All the time.
Really?
And like most of them buy cars as well. They're not just out there to come and say hello. That we get a lot of customers from it. And
so you've already done half the job already by just like them getting to know you already, which is what old way of doing car dealing was, okay, now the customer comes to a forecourt. Now I have to create a relationship with them.
Build that rapport.
Once they feel like they know me, that's when they'll think about buying a car. But you've already got to that stage before they
that bit's already done before they even walk through the door.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think education, you're right. That's a big part of it. And I do see it a lot with buyers or specifically buyers that don't know us on social media, that they're anxious. Because it's about how much that car means to them. So you say about your man who's got a collection of 10 cars and he buys number 11. Well, that's it to him, not to say that it's not valuable to him, but it's just another car. Whereas when someone's buying their family car, they're buying a Kia Sportage or whatever, and they're out and they're looking, they want to be really sure that they're buying the right car. Is the mileage all right? Is the history all right? Is it going to go wrong? They're really anxious, aren't they? To the point where buying a car actually isn't an enjoyable process for some people. So
they're not car. I mean, I'm guessing not car people.
They're
right?
not. They're just family people.
Our people, our car people, they're a little bit more savvy. But those guys must be like, oh my god, I'm buying from a used car dealer. What if he screws me? Da, 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 da.
Yeah, and like you say, car dealers generally do have they don't have a bad name. I think the car industry has moved on a lot. So back in the 90s 100%. When people like cut and shuts and things like that was obviously a big thing back then. Whereas nowadays, I'm not saying this doesn't exist, but it's just unheard of, isn't it?
The thing is, the difference is from those days to these days is the consumer rights. Yeah. So consumers have a lot more rights. You can't just pick up a phone and tell somebody to bugger off if they've got a problem with their car anymore. You have to take it
the
seriously.
Law always takes the consumer side in this market.
Yeah, so true. But social media then, right? So other than bringing people in, like they know you now and it's a much easier sale, is there anything else that you feel social media has done for your business? Like, do you monetize your YouTube or anything like that?
So what I do is I've set up a platform called Planet of Dreams.
Yeah.
And Planet of Dreams is essentially, it's basically like a raffle website, but it's non-profit. So all of the money that's generated goes back into the platform, and it allows us to buy more cars. And them cars are filmed on social media. So we buy cars from subscribers, preferably projects. So there's a few horror stories along the way, broken, need repairing, big bills. We get them all repaired. And all of the funds that we use to repair them is generated from the channel. So the channel's then self-sufficient. And we get the car done to a complete state. And then once it's done, we give the subscribers the chance to win that car for free. Oh, wow. So we put the car back on the platform, and that car then gets won by a subscriber to the channel. We then do a video with that car, the winner, saying, like, handing over the car, and then we buy another car and we do it all again. So that for me, I think what social media does for me is it keeps your mind busy, it keeps you active. So your head's constantly in the game. So I'm at work we're doing deals and stuff, but also social media, and as it evolves all the times, and there's always new changes.
You never stand still with
So
socials.
you've got BINCA, Enterage, the car buying shop. You just mentioned Planet of Dreams, and I think you got a clothing brand as well, right?
Yeah.
Are you still involved with that?
Yeah.
So how do you find time to keep on top of everything?
I suppose one, I enjoy it, but two, and more importantly, I've got an amazing team around me. Like family, I'm lucky. I've got a big family, and each one of us we're all very similar, but we've all also got our own qualities. So, and every single quality, we're an amazing team. Even outside of the family, it's not just family that we work with, but outside of the family, we've got lots of other people there as well, and everyone is proper on it. Like people, every single one of us.
And everyone's involved in those businesses in one way or another.
Yeah, in one way or another, yeah.
Just going back to talking about social media, but with your YouTube channel, where did you come up with the concept of recording stuff on YouTube? I mean, there's a lot of traders out there, but very rarely someone picks up the phone and says, I'm going to record this process.
I think that's quite funny as well. I think a lot of car dealers should do that. I suppose for me, it's kind of evolution. As I started filming stuff on my phone, I suppose I was doing kind of more car reviews, and because I was faced with all these cars all the time, I could review and give my opinion on each car. So it kind of evolved from there. Then I realised that if I buy a better camera, I can do better production and put more time into the editing. I suppose also, the editing, the enjoyment of editing was always a big part of it. But it just started off small and just, I suppose, grew to being a full-blown production like it is today.
Okay, so Calvin, test drives, obviously a big part of the business. We have to actually ask customers for a deposit before we go out for a test drive in our cars, because imagine how many people want to test drive a supercar. We've got plenty of stories, right? Especially you guys. But give us the best example of a test drive.
Do you know what? Straight away, one springing to mind. It's actually on YouTube as well, this video. Customer come down to our yard and he said, it was a Jaguar XF. He said, I want to look at this car. I said, there's the keys for the car. Go and have a little look at it. You can start it, but whatever you do, don't drive it, yeah? And he said, okay, he wasn't an English guy. His English weren't that great. But he understood what I said. Don't drive it. He's gone out to the back of the yard. I looked at him on the cameras. He was all right, just starting it and stuff and checking it out. And then I've looked up at the camera and I can see him driving out the yard in the car.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, he's actually gone out on the road, but there's nothing I could do. I just thought I'd leave him to it. Let him just go for a little run around in the car.
Weren't you scared that he might nick it?
Well, yeah, what can you do? I was busy. I just left him to it. But it was like I think the car value was like $3,000. It wasn't like a massively expensive car. So he's gone, and couple of minutes gone past. I'm thinking, where is he? And his friends come running in. I see him on the cameras come running in, and I've gone out there. And I'm like, where's your friend gone with the Jag? And he said, oh, my friend, the Jaguar, my friend has crashed your car.
No.
I'm like, you're joking. You're joking. He's took the car without even asking, and he's crashed it. Where has he crashed it? Just down the road. I was like, right, jump in my car. Let's go and see. So I've gone down the road, literally like a couple of 100 yards down the road. He is on the wrong side of the road, head on with one of the locals from the village up the road. Like literally, they've come around a bend and just smashed into each other. Both cars are written off. I'm trying to say to the guy, mate, what the hell are you doing? Like, how has this happened? How are you on the wrong side of the road? I think he thought, because he was like Eastern European, he must have thought he was back home. So I'm thinking, I need to get money for this car. That's all I care about. Like both drivers were, everyone was fine, yeah? Now I want to know how am I getting the money for my car? I'm like, how are you paying for this car? Because this is your problem. You've took my car and you need to pay for it. And he's just trying to flip out and trying to sort of curve the attention away from him paying for the car. So, mate, you're paying for this car. This has got to get sorted. Police were on their way. And I said, I'm going to go back and get my card machine. So I went back to the yard, got my card machine, which luckily we got a wireless one. Took it back. This is all on camera as well. And
on your YouTube channel?
On the YouTube channel. You've got to check this video out.
This must have been like amazing content.
It was a wicked video.
Did it blow up?
Yeah, done really well.
Huh.
So then I've gone back to the scene of the accident. Police have arrived. And I've just gone up to him and said, mate, get your card out and pay for the car. And he's trying to curve it. I said, no, you need to pay for the bloody car. So he's put his card in the machine and it's declined for, say it was £3,000. I was like, try £2,000. And he tried £2,000 and it worked. So I thought, I've got £2,000 now. I said, you need to find the other £1,000. So I said to his friend, look, you guys have got to work out how you're paying for this car. He said, well, take my card and pay with my card. So I've got £1,000 off that card, £2,000 off the other guy. I said, just put back and we'll do an invoice when you're done. And the police come up to me after, and the copper said to me, you're Calvin, ain't you? I said, yeah. I said, I've seen your videos on YouTube. He said, Calvin, you should never have took that payment. I said, why? He said, you've intervened with a criminal situation. And I'm like, mate, that's my car. He's nicked my car, basically. I just want the money. I'm done here. I'm going back. I've got a video. I'm happy. So, yeah, that was it. I left into it.
Actually, it must have been so good that you had the YouTube video going on at the same time, because you've got all the evidence there that actually, no, it wasn't like I said to him, go for a test drive. Because if you did say to him, go for a test drive, then surely it would have been under your insurance.
It would have been under my insurance, yeah. Yeah, and there was kind of a bit of a conversation about that with the police, but I was like, no. This guy has just we've got it on camera. The guy's just basically nicked the car.
Oh my God.
Funny story.
Go on, George.
That's insane.
Go on, if you got one.
Have you got one to match that?
Nothing to match that. Touchwood. Never had a car written off, but I'd say I've been in a very scary test drive before. Now, this customer luckily had paid for the car up front, and it wasn't so much as testing the car, but he wanted to go for a drive with me next to him. I'm sat in the car, and it's a Ferrari F12. People who've driven an F12 before would know it's one of the scariest cars to drive. 700 horses going to the back wheels. Now, he's going through tight country lanes. He's like, I want to stay off the motorway. I just want to go down some side roads and really open it up and see if it's all good. This guy is driving sideways in an F12, going around some A roads in a country lane. I'm holding on to it. I won't say his name. I'm like, stop the car, I'll get out. Stop the car, take it, I'll get out. Like, I don't want to be in the car right now. And it sounds like a bit of a
that's horrible
story to use, but just being in a car that's doing 120 miles an hour down a side country lane, sliding around corners.
Oh my God, that's really illegal.
Yeah, the fact that he paid for it, I think there was a small balance outstanding at the time. This was like the last drive he was going to do before taking the car away. And I've never been that scared before in a car. That was insane. And I think after that, I've always told drivers, if I'm ever getting into a test drive, and this is another thing as well, we rarely do test drives. Customers, they know what they want. If they want it, they'll buy it and they'll take the car. But when you do have the odd scenario, someone wants a test drive, I told them up front that to test a car, to see if you really want it, go somewhere and rent the model and see if you can have it for a day or two.
Take it around a track,
That's the only real way you can see if you can live with a car. But in a 10 or 15 minute test drive, you're not going to be able to experience everything in it. Do not put your foot down in the test drive. You don't know how the car is going to react. I don't know what your driving skills are like. And
you've had a scenario we've had to tell somebody, look, you've broken the speed limit.
Yeah, I told him to get out. I left him.
You didn't.
No, honestly, yeah.
Go on, what happened?
It was at Aston. This was going back maybe 7 years ago. And funny enough, it wasn't an Aston Martin. It was a part exchange we took in, a CLS 63 AMG. And we were just off the A40, our dealership. So he took up the A40 and he wanted to test drive the car. And he started going crazy. Like, I'm talking 3-figure speeds, in and out of traffic, weaving from slow lane to fast lane, like really dangerously. And I kept asking him, listen, I said, you got to slow down. I don't mind a little bit of speeding, but it's his license at the end of the day. But the way he was driving was way too dangerous. And I had to ask him, no word of a lie, maybe 6 or 7, and he wouldn't listen. He wouldn't stop. He wouldn't slow down. In the end, I got like really, not aggressive, but I told him, listen, stop the car now. So he pulled into a petrol station. I was sweating. That's how scared I was, yeah. And I just left him at that petrol station. I got in the car and I drove off. And I said, I didn't want to deal with him anymore. Because he literally for like 20 minutes, he wouldn't listen to me. He refused to listen to me. And I just left him there.
And did he come back to the dealership?
He got a cab back to the dealership. And he actually said that he was never going to buy the car. So it wasn't even his intention to buy the car. And I knew that. I could tell. That's why I was a bit pissed off with him. I could tell.
He's just come for a joyride.
He just came. And from that day, that's when we started taking deposits before test drives.
Do you know what?
Because of that.
Car Giant do this thing where you can go and test drive cars. So I've always loved cars. When I was when I just got my license from college, I actually used to do a thing, go to Car Giant
Really?
at least once a month just to test drive their cars.
That was you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was listening to that. I think I used to be exactly like that.
I worked at Car Giant. I used to hate people like
That was
that.
probably me you did it.
Yeah, that's where you used to met, innit?
But no, it's just crazy. You could walk into this dealership and think of it as a boy who's just got his license, and you've now got a choice of 1,000 cars to choose from. You can test drive any single one of them without having to leave a deposit. I was a kid in a candy shop. It was like,
Yeah, you're right.
I'd take the next 10 lined up over there for a test drive, one back to back, and with zero intention of buying anything.
That's crazy though, isn't it? It's to think about that. That's crazy. Like to do that as a business and allow people to just come and have a go in your
Yeah, I
cars.
don't get
Even
that.
after you've cleaned them all, there's cost in cleaning cars. There's time in accommodating that person.
See, you realise that we've got customers who come here and they still challenge us. They'd be like, how dare you ask me for a deposit before a test drive? I've never heard of nonsense like this. I'm just thinking, just take a second. I know you're probably a bit frustrated
And
because
some of those guys are normally the ones with the Ferrari caps and their Ferrari jacket and Ferrari
Keyrings.
shoes and keyring and everything like that. They've pulled up in a Peugeot down the road or something.
Yeah,
had a guy
you
who,
know who you are. Yeah.
had a guy who messaged through Instagram actually, and he's an English chap living in Barcelona, and he said, I'm just flying in, I'm going to land at Heathrow, do you mind if I stop by the showroom and have a look at the 570 you have? I was like, yeah, it's fine. Came down, it was at 6ish, having a look around the car, and he's like, yeah, just want to take it out for a test drive. I said, yeah, just want to make sure you're going to commit to the car. It's a £5,000 deposit, non-refundable. We obviously do refund it if there's any issues with the car on the test drive, which there shouldn't be, but it's a non-refundable deposit. I kid you not, this guy spent 10 minutes telling me that how that's the worst policy he's ever come across. He's like, I don't understand how you sell cars. I don't get it. I don't understand how there's a single car that you sell within the showroom. I've flown all the way from Barcelona. I've landed there. I've taken time out of my day.
Should have told him just to sit in the office with us for a little bit, or a little while.
I said to her, do you want to see the sales boards and see that we actually do sell cars?
It's just mad. But no, I think our policy is simple, right? You're not doing a test drive to see if you like the car or not. You're doing a test drive to see if there's anything wrong with the car. So if you can imagine, man, and we're not the only people that do that. Every single supercar dealer in the country, I would say, probably has a similar kind of policy. But I think with the exception is where a customer's bought a couple of cars from us before and we already have a relationship with them. So then we know it's just like, all right, yeah, come down.
Yeah.
Come, we'll go out.
You already know they're serious, yeah. But you've got to kind of not even qualify them. You've got to qualify them. You've got to make sure they're serious before you're even accommodating that.
Yeah. I mean, even the repetitive buyers, they'll come back. And we've had it, this guy would have bought 6 or 7 cars of us in the last couple of years, but you'll still come back just for a joyride on another car. So you're right in saying you still have to qualify whether they're serious about buying it or are they just coming in for a joyride.
Okay, so what is the future for Calvin's Car Diaries, BINCA,
I
and all your other
suppose
businesses?
just continuing to grow. So with Enterage, we want to continue to grow that and keep getting more people on board and evolve that. We've got changes being made to that every month. So that's going in a good direction. BINCA, we actually relocated to a new site this year, to a bigger site. So that was a big deal for us.
Very cool.
And so we're now settled in at our new site. With social media, I enjoy it. I love doing it. It's going to continue. I can plan to continue doing what I'm doing, keep growing. And with Planet of Dreams, I want to get it to a point where we're in a position to give away a McLaren. So you never know, I might be back at some point soon to buy a McLaren for you guys. That's a dream. I don't know why a McLaren, but day one, I said the first car I ever gave away was a £100 330D that I bought for a subscriber.
How does it work? So people, as long as you subscribe to your channel, then
You just go on.
randomly you'll get chosen. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so we built a website. Again, my brother Curtis built this website with his team. And
But do they have to like buy in?
you don't have to. You can. That's optional. You can buy in as well.
So by buying in, you've got more of a chance.
You get
of winning.
more of a chance, yeah.
Okay, but otherwise you've got still a small chance.
Yeah,
if you don't buy.
people win stuff for free every week. We do giveaways every single Friday.
Wow,
Yeah, so every Friday at midday, I go live and I announce winners of prizes every Friday.
that's pretty cool.
And it's people winning stuff for free all the time.
And that's funded through your YouTube channel.
Between YouTube and Planet of Dreams itself is
Oh, okay, yeah, all right, fair enough.
funding as well.
Wow,
It's good. It's really good.
very cool.
So yeah, the direction is just continuing to grow and create, I suppose.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Well, look, we've learned a lot from you today, and really congratulations on having such a good business and building it up to such a big scale. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, guys. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's wicked. That was a good chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good chat. If you like the podcast today, please like, subscribe, and share. We want to do a lot more of these and bring you better content every single week. Until next time, see you guys.